More. Henrietta, welcome to the program. It feels like 10% might be the best case outcome for many of these trading nations, including the Europeans. What do you think the worst case outcome might be?
Yeah, I think when we look back and reflect on today in the grand scheme of things, this is going to represent the low point of the Trump administration at this juncture for where tariff rates are going to go. If you listen to what Tyler just explained and where the trade negotiations are, there's no need to delay implementation of tariffs to August 1st unless they're going up. So all those 100 nations, some of them are exposed to 50% tariff rates. But very disconcertingly, the president came out over the weekend and said some of those tariffs could go in at 60 or 70% rates, which would be even higher than the ones he rolled out on April 2nd. And what we're seeing, as in the case of Vietnam, is that they're going to sort of bifurcate whether the nations are shipping things that were made in that country or transshipped. So there's a whole basket of nations in Southeast Asia who are exposed to a blended tariff rate of about 50%, 20% on their own sourced and exported items, and then 40% on things that are transshipped. So we have a 30% effective tariff rate. So that's sort of the direction we're going, and I think we're going to see the sectoral tariffs come on and be negotiated. So things are going up from here, not down.
Henrietta, what you're describing sounds like Liberation Day Part 2. Is the market unprepared for that?
I think the market is trying to operate like this is going to be a nothing burger. We hear the taco stuff all the time, but we are seeing tariff rates go up. And one thing I really want to flag, and I see, Treasury Secretary Bessent on the, media tour now talking about the OBBB and these tariffs that are obviously top of mind. But one of the things that he argues frequently is that this is just a one-time hit and not inflationary. And that's inconsistent with the actions of the administration. We've seen tariff rates rise no fewer than 6 times that I could just count while I was sitting here, going into just the first 6 months of this year. And they're set to rise again. That would be a 7th. And then we're going to get 7 different sectoral tariffs. And then we're going to have, 90, 180-day delays in deals with the EU or Japan or South Korea or India. This is a perpetual component, just like it was in Trump's first term, where we got the tax bill done. And we spent the next 3 years raising tariffs, in that case on China and 232s, and I expect to see that again.
Well, 2 things to point out. The Treasury Secretary consistently makes this case that it's not inflationary because it's a one-time price adjustment when it comes to potentially the hit on goods. When it comes to, though, what the president is doing and what you're pointing out, changing the tariff rates a number of times, isn't that how he negotiates a maximalist approach to then de-escalate? We saw that play out with Beijing.
I mean, you de-escalate from 145% to 33%. I don't know how fantastic that is, and they're all stacked on different tariff rates from this first administration. So I think that the general trajectory is tariff rates going up. And then as things pop up, like this BRICS stuff overnight, you're seeing the president deploy tariffs as his most effective bullet in his arsenal. And I think that that's going to continue because it is an incredibly effective bullet. I'm actually writing a note to clients right now talking about how there will be no leash on the president on tariffs until we get into the general election cycle, which is not until February of next year. So we've got another 6 or 7 months of this.
So Henrietta, just hold up, because this is important. You've got business leaders and investors starving for clarity, and some who believe that clarity will come on this issue in the coming months. You're saying, as Anne-Marie has said for quite a while, this might just be a feature of this administration.
Quite right. Exactly so. That's exactly what it was in 2017 and 18. And what I see is almost an exact replica of his first term. You wait to get your legislative agenda accomplished. That was done last week. The OBBB is done. We're not going to be passing any additional legislation. We're going to have to deal with a government shutdown potentially, but the debt ceiling's off the table. There's no need to extend the 2017 tax rates. We're done on the legislative front. That means that the next 3 years, just like in the Trump first term, will be all trade all the time.
Let's address the backlash to that bill that was passed. The backlash from one individual, Elon Musk, unveiling a new party. Now, Henrietta, we were talking about this about 20 minutes ago. I'm not sure if you missed it at the top of the program, just how much deficit spending has been approved in this country in the last 5 years by single vote margins, and how disruptive a new party could be if they just target some very tight districts in the midterms. How difficult would it be to put that together with only 18 months, not even, left on the calendar?
Incredibly difficult. So what I notice when I hear Elon Musk talk is that he does go out of his way to highlight that there are a couple of Senate seats that you could really be impactful in. That kind of nuanced thinking is really critical. If you're going to deploy independent cash without, the Democratic Party behind you or the Republican Party behind you, you're going to need to be very targeted, and then you can be very disruptive. Think like Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, Rand Paul, these individual senators who have outside sway and impact because outside contributors have propped up or created that member. And that's the kind of disruption that Elon Musk could create if he wanted to. I don't imagine that it would be, all of a sudden there's 3 parties represented equally in Congress, but you could really upset the apple cart in key states like committing to spend in Alaska or North Carolina to take on Tillis's vacant seat or Susan Collins in Maine. There's a couple of ways that you can spend money and have it have maximum impact.
Henrietta Trace of Vader Partners. Henrietta, thank you. As always, good to see you. Looking ahead, not just to the next several months, but to the rest of this term.
Rest of this term, and Ben Ladler put that 10% way through the 10% we've already gone through, 90% to go through a 1,460-day administration. And to Henrietta's point, the fiscal agenda is done. There's really not much more they can do. That's over with. Now it's going to be fully focused on trade. What's different from Trump 2 than Trump 1 is he is going after the entire world when it comes to resetting